so our theme for the last 2 weeks has been embracing, engaging, and empowering life. So what do I mean by that? It's kind of a mini review here. So fully engaging life, which is the lowercase l, which means the human experience. Being present, being conscious, being involved, active in our own lives. Conscious, not just sleepwalking through life like we are on autopilot. To be aware, to be spiritually aware. Because I know we're aware of everything that's going on the planet today, and that's why it's so important to clear out our consciousness, to clear out anything that interferes with the flow of good, of love, which is the glue of the universe, because we are not all of these experiences. Yeah, we're in them, but we're not them. We are divine beings. That's what we are. We are God beings, and that's what we remember, that we are God beings. The second one would be to embrace life. The uppercase L, our divine self. That divine self that I just spoke of, the life of God, means realizing there is a powerful good in this universe and we can use it. And we ought to use it. How do we function if we don't clear our consciousness first? Do we live in fear, or do we live in kindness and love and peace within ourselves? Because that's where the true work lies, within us. So the third would be empowering life. Do we live an empowering life? Human and divine. And that means standing strong, standing really strong in who and whose we are. Knowing fully that all of this leads to an extraordinary experience of life. Life itself. I want to remind you of something I've said for the past 2 weeks, and we're going to continue for this week and next week, and then November's theme will be a little different. Who you are, okay, it reminds me, I said this 2 weeks ago, who you are and the power you are is extraordinary. Did you know that? I hope you know that. You are extraordinary, not ordinary. No one is. And you are the power itself. And you are phenomenal. You are phenomenal. That feel good? We don't hear that enough. We don't hear that at all, actually, usually. Nobody walks around going, "Hi, Margaret, you're phenomenal." Only when I'm here. That's why I won't come here. It's the truth, the spiritual truth of you and me, of all of us. But we don't always feel it and express it, and one of the reasons could be that we let the shadows from the past work through us, because that past is part of our consciousness. And so we gather together to reconcile the past. There's one way of doing it. There are many ways. We can go into the quantum theory, but I'm not going to get into time folding into time, that we can go back and change, as David would know, the whole past. I'm going to do it this way, because this is the way I have it written down anyway. But there are other ways. There are many ways of changing the past. But this way is quick and effective, I think. Once and for all. So religious science founder Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind textbook, wrote this: if we take our images of thought only from our previous experiences, then we continue in the bondage which those previous experiences create. If we talk about discord, we shall become more discordant. If we spend all of our time talking about unhappiness, we shall become more unhappy. Remember, what we focus on grows. What we give our attention to, we create more of. So just remember that we are conscious beings and we are creating all of the time. If we spend, Jesus understood, the great teacher, understood the great law of cause and effect in the universe, which works sometimes with apparent slowness and always with sureness. This is all Ernest Holmes. So what did he mean by the great law of cause and effect? Whatever we have in our consciousness, our human consciousness, the thoughts, the feelings, the values, the attitudes, the words, the actions, the reactions, we experience in our lives. Have you noticed that? I have, especially this week. I really noticed. I noticed why I was acting in a certain way, and it was unconsciously. I wasn't, consciously I felt really good and strong, but unconsciously I was creating scenarios that weren't reflecting happiness and joy and love. So I stopped myself, and I reflected on that. So the question this morning is, are there painful or unhealed aspects of your past hanging around in your consciousness and thereby affecting your present and then your future? If left unhealed, your past can absolutely destroy your present, and it can wreak havoc with your future. It can bury your gifts, your creativity, your talents, your love, and your power. Have you ever seen a mime try to get out of a box? I wish I could do that. I can't really do it, but everyone at home sees that. Okay. They are trying to get out of a box through walls that aren't there, much like an elephant that has been trained. And the way they train the elephant is the trainer captures the elephant when it's young, and tethers its one leg to a tree with a chain. The elephant struggles, trying to get away, and struggles, and it pulls and pulls against the chain, but finally, the months of struggling, and the elephant gives up. And then the trainer ties the elephant with a rope, his leg. It's brutal, but that's what we humans do. And repeats the process. Later, the trainer ties the elephant with something even lighter until he can take the elephant into the jungle, where it labors uncomplainingly, tied with the reed of a lotus. That elephant will not even think of making a break for freedom, because it has been trained to believe that the slightest tug on the leg means it is captured. The lotus reed cannot restrain the elephant except in one way, and that is by the animal's own conviction. It believes it. The elephant's belief, it binds him. And dragging around our past, as most of us do, because a lot of it's in our subconscious, and we drag it around with us. I'd like to make two suggestions for this morning. And hopefully they'll be able to assist you in making some peace with certain beliefs in our past. Reconciling it so that we can live a creative life full of vitality and energy. So you can, well, here's something. The first thing, there's two ways of doing this. The first is to change the perception of what went on in the past. We can do anything, remember that. We are powerful beings and we are able to do anything. So we can change our perception of the past. The first one begins with the realization that you must come to, that no peace can be made. You might not, well, no peace can be made, but you might not like this, but it's kind of true. It is, you cannot change the events from your past. And as I said, this is one avenue of, this is many thoughts on the past, but most of us know what took place. All right, they're like facts. But all your wishing, all your hand-wringing, all your arguing, indignation, stomping, foot stomping, angry tantrums, no matter how justified they may be, will do nothing to change the past, but everything to keep you tethered to it. Now that we have that out of the way, what can we do? What can we do? Well, we can in fact do something very, very powerful. We can change our perception of it. We can change our perception because it is only your perception of the past that has the power over you anyway. It's the perception of it and the replaying of it and the repeating it constantly in our lives that keep us tethered to it. We really do interpret everything in life. Everything that goes on, it's our interpretation of it. It's what we believe. And the situations and the experiences that happen have no meaning other than the meaning we give to them. Just like the elephant, the meaning, the belief that we give to them. We have the ability to choose interpretations that empower our lives and move them forward, or interpretations that leave us feeling alone and helpless. And that's victim consciousness. And I know I spent over 40 years getting out of that victim consciousness because it wasn't doing anything for me but making me unhappy. So if you were abused as a child, okay, that's a fact, you were abused. But that victim consciousness that comes with that, we replay it over and over again in our lives and create different scenarios where that abuse is still playing. And so it's self-abuse then. We are doing the same thing over again, thinking that is true. And it's not true. We can change our perception of what took place. We really can. So here's an example. There was a young man who had become a paraplegic, and then through a freak accident became a quadriplegic. Someone asked him one day, doesn't your energy, doesn't your physical condition color the way you look at life? His response was, yes, I suppose it does, but I get to choose the color. How do we want to color our lives? We get to choose that. We do. So you get to choose the color of your past also. So the first suggestion is Why not make up a new story? A new interpretation about it. It's like, it reminds me when I hear the news story of our class, Radical Forgiveness, where we actually play a game, Satori, and we make up a new story in that game of what really happened. It's a great game, right? Anyone play it? Yeah, I know, they keep asking me to do it. It's not just the game, it really reflects our inner consciousness. It really does. So we get to choose how to interpret it. Inventing a new interpretation is the simplest way to make peace with the past. By giving up the idea that our story is the only truth. We can reconcile with us. The late Debbie Ford, in her book, I know you love this book, Reverend Sue, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Remember that? This is in chapter 8, as entitled, Interpreting Yourself. And in it, she gives an example from her own life. I want to share that with you today, and it's from the book. She shares that the word ugly had a huge emotional charge for her. So she decided to create a new interpretation of it. When she went back into her memory, she realized that her father used to tease her by calling her Pig Nose and Bucky when she was a little girl. Her interpretation of those comments was that her father didn't love her because she was ugly. So that word ugly played a huge part in her entire life up until that point. There was time, it was time for her to face the incident and experience the feelings that were attached to it and the pain that was attached to it. Because you gotta feel the story first before you can pass through it and reinvent a new story. So that's what she did. She decided it was time to face the incident and the pain and humiliation that it brought to her. And to that word itself. Sometimes it's just the word that triggers us, and that's it. We can change the word. Then she began to create a new interpretation of the event in order to embrace that word. Potential. Here's some potential interpretation. My father hated me and was trying to damage me for life. My father thought I truly was remarkably ugly, and the only way he could deal with it was by teasing me. My father thought these names were cute and used them with affection. Or, my father loved me so much, he wanted to prepare me for the real world. He thought he could protect me by downplaying my beauty. And Debbie writes, now I can look at all the interpretations and see which ones make me feel good and which ones make me feel bad. And I can choose to replace my old negative interpretation with a new positive one. The new interpretation I chose was, my father loved me so much he wanted to prepare me for the real world because he thought by downplaying my beauty, he could protect me. I picked it because it made me laugh. And it gave me peace, she said. And it seemed ridiculous, but I wrote it down. And when I closed my eyes and asked myself, which interpretation nurtured my soul, it was that one. Once I chose to replace the old interpretation, my inner reference point shifted. Now my father's old habit seemed almost light, sweet, regardless of his true motives. I'm now at peace with that experience. We can be at peace with all experiences if we choose it. But we have to consciously choose it. And you can use this exercise with any incident, any trauma. Most of us have been through 1 or 2 or 3 traumas in our lives. And we can change those by understanding there's a lesson involved in every experience that we have, no matter however intense or trivial we might think it is. Sit down and write alternative interpretations. If you can't think of any, then get a really close friend who you trust, or call one of the practitioners who will walk you through the whole process. It works. And here's an important question. Does the interpretation of my past empower me or disempower me? Think about, well, you don't have to do it now, but you might be. Your past and that which might bring you discomfort and color what you do in today's world, how you think, how you react. Your relationships especially, they'll show you. They'll show you. I had to repeat the same trauma as a child into adulthood. I had to do that in order to heal it. And then, when it was healed, it was over. It took me 42 years, but it was over, you know. It took a little while. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But the point is, I got the lesson. And each one of us can get the lesson in anything we have been through. And it can empower us to know that we are incredible beings. We are incredible humans. We are divine beings capable of anything we really choose on doing and feeling in this life. Does your inner dialogue disempower you or empower you? It won't change until you replace it with a positive, powerful internal conversation. And Holmes tells us this in Science of Mind. Any incident that has transpired in the past, this is important, is an active thing in the present unless the vibration is neutralized. He talks about that quite a bit in his book, neutralizing something. You can't just have this pain, this trauma, and then put a happy affirmation on top of it and think it's you're going to believe it, first of all, because you're not. You think you are, but you're really not deep in the subconscious. So you got to work on that, the subconscious belief of it. So we neutralize it. We have to face it, and then we have to know it's not the truth, it's our perception, and then neutralize it, and then work from there. Choosing a new interpretation neutralizes the negative vibration. Remember, the subconscious is always creating through the divine creative law as well as the conscious. So we are always creative. We're creative beings. That's what we are. We create our lives. We create scenarios in our lives. So that's just the first interpretation of making peace within the past. The second one is look for the good, as I said. Look for the lesson. All seemingly negative events are a blessing in disguise. I've looked back at quite a few events, and I'm like, that was such a blessing. I am so glad that happened, even though I didn't feel like it when I was going through it. It felt horrific. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It felt horrible. It was painful. But it was a blessing because it moved me into right action. It moved me more into aligning with my divinity. And when I align with my divinity, all is possible. The world opens up to me. All possibilities come into play. It is amazingly powerful to do. It really, really is. And sometimes you got to kick yourself into that unknown in order to choose. And that's a scary place to be, in the unknown. But it's where the power is. It's where the universe will move in. And when I say universe, I mean divine energy will move in and create things that we could never imagine possible. It is just so amazing. Or as Michael would say, so brilliant. I can't even use that word anymore. So brilliant. Our past is a blessing that teaches and guides. So look for the lesson in everything in life. Someone once said, everything that is past is either a learning experience to grow on, a beautiful memory to reflect on, or a motivating factor to act on. Yeah. I'll read that again. Everything that is past is either a learning experience to grow on, a beautiful memory to reflect on, or a motivating factor to act upon. You want some motivation? Really look that thing in the face, whatever it is, and you just keep moving with it. You'll see all the good that's been there the whole time that we didn't even know because we were so tied to the trauma of what was going on. We give ourselves a new interpretation. I want to end with some simple but powerful counsel. This one's from Charles Fillmore, Atom Smashing Power of Mind. He writes, do not look at what has been. Lot's, now we all know who Lot is, right, in the Bible. Lot's wife tried that, and she never got beyond her past. She stayed there, remember? Stuck. And how many people do you know that are stuck in the past? How does it feel? From Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind, I love this quote. We should erase all thoughts of yesterday that would rob us of today's happiness. That's a beautiful quote. Then Holmes suggested an affirmation, which I want to do right now, and I'm going to use it like a closing prayer. So I'd like you to repeat it after me, because this is for all of us. We're all in this human thing together. No one is separated from it. We're all in this together. So let's please repeat after me. There is nothing arising.
There is nothing arising
Out of the past. That can disturb me. The past, the present, and the future. Are one unbroken stream of good. I lose all thoughts. That in the past. Have caused me anxiety. The Spirit knows no past.
The Spirit knows no past.
And is not affected by the belief in it. The past is swallowed up. In the victory. Of a perfect present. Which is filled. With love and protection. Let us remember that. We are always loved. We are always protected. I truly believe this fully with all of my being, and I know a lot of you, most of you in here, believe that you're always protected. So let us really use some of this. I hope some of this helped some of us move forward, if not all of us, move forward in our lives and create the experiences we really want for the present, which then affects the future. So it is.
So it is.